So we've got the 2024 all-new Ford Ranger behind us, and this is a 2.3 liter. We're going to take it out for a test drive, check out its turning radius, and really give a nice little test drive to this because we've got some preconceptions from the old model, and we want to find out, has Ford sort of fixed some of the issues with the Ranger? I'm not saying that it's bad and that it was bad in any way, but there's definitely room for improvement. So let's see if Ford has improved on it and if the Ford Ranger, because of those improvements, are worth it. So we're going to be looking at turning radius, comfort, how it drives in the bendies, little left-right tug on the steering wheel to see how that feels, and really give this the beans as well. So folks, stay tuned because we're about to put the pedal to the metal on the all-new 2024 Ford Ranger with the 2.3 liter engine. So we've got the FX4 package on this. It's the 2.3 liter 4-cylinder turbo. We've got the XLT. So cloth interior. We'll give it a look over in just a moment as we jump right in. This is 50,000 Canadian. And we've got a few preconceptions on this vehicle because of course we know the previous model extremely well. We've reviewed the 2.3 liter. It had a few drawbacks. Some people found the 2.3 liter engine previously to be a little loud in the Ranger, and the suspension was rough, which isn't a criticism because yes, you can put 1,500 pounds in the bed, so it's allowed to be a little rough. But let's see, with the fact that Ford has got this about 2 inches longer and 2 inches wider, let's see if that, with suspension, the remaking of the suspension really, if that has resolved some of those comfort, harshness issues, if the engine's a little less harsh and noisy. And let's check out, of course, we love acceleration here, so let's check out acceleration. One thing we can definitely say is that the frame continues to be unbelievably strong. It's a fully boxed in frame. This thing can handle off-roading. It's the frame now like on the Bronco. So we've tested it out up in the mountains, really doing some very hard off-road and some twisty, bendy conditions, and we know this frame is up for the job. But let's see about the rest of the vehicle, the comfort and the acceleration, folks. So stay tuned. Let's put the pedal to the metal right here, right now. So we are test driving the 2.3 liter 4-cylinder, 270 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque 4-cylinder engine. It's not a boring 4-cylinder. This thing has a turbo. It gets the job done. This engine's been around since, you think back to the Focus RS. You had the 2.3 liter there in 2016. Same thing for the Mustang. And well, it has ample power. For most people, this will be more than enough power, and it's quite a bit of fun. But it was previously quite loud in the previous model if you gave it a bit of power, and that is much more reasonable now. Now, is it the sound deadening on the vehicle, or is it that they've kind of quieted down the motor? I'm not sure. It's hard to tell. But inside the cabin, we are hearing less road noise. But the question remains, should you wait for a 2.7 liter twin turbo V6 that they have in the Bronco and F-150? Because then you're going to be producing a whole lot more power. We're talking about 315 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque. We have it in our Bronco, and we can confirm that that will be an absolute blast to drive. And on the new Ranger, it's maybe worth considering ordering your Ranger with that V6 because it's definitely going to be worth the money, because that motor hauls. It does a fantastic job. Now, talking about hauling, these Rangers can haul 1,711 pounds in that 5-foot box, which is a problem for many people. Are complaining that this 4-door only configuration with a box that can handle 1,711 pounds, that it's just not enough space, the 5 feet. Either way, you will find plenty of space in the front cabin here. You've got really great looking screens. The interior is such an advancement. The old Ranger was starting to look a little old, and yes, they have reused essentially a modified version of the T6 platform. But now with the T6 platform, it's not just the interior that's looking a lot more modern. The drive of this vehicle is feeling a lot more modern and comfortable. They've made the wheelbase longer and wider, and it has really paid off because we're getting a much more comfortable ride in a much better looking interior that has still plenty of space. So yes, it's only offered as a 4-door, but the rear seats are comfortable. The front seats are incredibly comfortable. If you have a rear facing baby seat, you're going to be a little tight on space because the passenger seat will need to be advanced quite a bit, and you won't want to be sitting someone over 6 feet tall in the passenger seat if you have a rear facing baby seat in the back. Regular child seat or regular baby seat, forward facing, not an issue. Now the handling, very little body roll, next to no body roll, and it does take the rough city roads quite well. And one of the biggest advantages of the new Ranger is the turning radius. Just like the Bronco, the turning radius on the Ranger is surprisingly good, making the Ranger really easy to park, easy to deal with in the city, and that's something we definitely want out of a truck. So the in-city manners are excellent, despite the high payload of 1,711 pounds when you're looking at the 4x4 model, about 100 pounds more if you get the 2x4 model. Of course, if you get the 2x4, so rear-wheel drive only, you will save a bunch of money. But resale, of course, is always better if you do go with a 4x4. And if ever you're doing any mountain trails like this, any, bad dirt roads, any muddy areas, camping, you're going to want the 4x4. So it's not just about resale value. I think the 4x4 option is well worth the money, unless you're just going to be doing some city driving. It's going to be a work truck in, somewhere like Texas or Florida. But you never know what the weather is going to throw at you, even if you live in Texas, if we think of the huge snowstorm a couple years back. So the spacing on the XLT that we see right here, the rear seats, I'm comfortable sitting in them. I'm just under 6 feet. I'm comfortable. I could definitely have another guy sitting in the back and I wouldn't feel excessively crowded. I love the new XLT look as they come standard as a sport model, but many of you are going to want to get just the little upgrade to the technology package, worth the extra money to get the heated seats. That's going to be the main reason many of you are going to move up. But no matter what Ranger you do get, they all look great. I do find the sweet spot, money-wise and styling, is the XLT. Because of this standard sport look, a lot of people pay a ton of extra money on the F-150s to get the chrome off the truck, to get it to essentially look like this. So the XLT, you're getting tow hooks, you're getting a great vehicle. You might want to consider getting an FX4 package if you do a little bit of off-road, but don't want to go spend all the money of the Raptor. Now, the Drive didn't really like, the drive.com or .ca didn't really like the interior. They rated this pretty low, the new Ranger, a 2.9 out of 5, whereas Motor Trend and Car and Driver actually gave very good reviews of the Ranger, one of them even saying that this was, the winner in its segment. The Drive didn't like the interior, these cloth seats. I'd say the cloth seats, for me, really do the job. I can't expect to have better cloth seats. The seats are comfortable. The cloth material is just fine. It's got a good styling to it, but if you do want added styling to your interior, go with the Lariat if you feel it's worth the extra money. I personally think the XLT is a fantastic bargain. Yes, the price has increased from the previous 2019 model, but when you take inflation into account, these actually have a starting point that's less expensive than the previous Ranger. So the previous Ranger, if you're looking at a 4x4 XLT, you're looking at $39,000, and price adjusted for inflation, that's more around $49,000 now, and the XLT starts underneath that price. I will post the pricing right now as we go through this, but I really truly think the XLT is the sweet spot. I think this is a fantastic model, no matter what engine you pick, whether it's the 4-cylinder, turboed, single turbo, 2.3 liter, that runs on regular gas. Remember the 270 horsepower, that's a lot of actually a lot of horsepower. 310 pound-feet of torque. Well, if you do want to kick it up to 315 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque, you're going to need to order a 2.7 liter V6 double turbo. Has been very reliable. There was little issues in the 2.7 liter Bronco, but that affected under 100 motors. Yes, there is a current recall on the 2.7 liter V6 where over 700,000 engines are being considered for a recall, but that's never going to be the case. All those engines are not going to be recalled. This isn't like the Toyota Tundra hybrid engine recall. This isn't going to affect all the models. You just had a short period of time where the sleeves of the valves or the valve coating is problematic, but we saw that in the Broncos. That was just for a short period of time. Under 100 engines blew. We've got hundreds and hundreds of thousands of these 2.7 liter engines that have been built and have proven themselves to be extremely reliable. So I'd say the reliability of either the 2.3 liter or the 2.7 liter, they've proven themselves with time. Over hundreds of thousands of engines that have been built. You're not going to have to worry. Now, I do want to cut in and say that these outlets in the back of the Ranger, very useful for contractors, extremely useful for campers. I really love how Ford kind of thought of everything on this model. We have the little rear bumper side steps for getting easy access into the bumper, because of course trucks over the last 20 years have become so much bigger than they once were. A mid-size like this Ranger is like a previous 90s F-150. It's actually a little higher than a 2x4 F-150 from the late 90s. So the big choice is actually going to come down to whether you want to get an XL. I'd say we're spending the extra money to get up to an XLT for that sport look. For not extra money, this thing has an incredible look. The new design of the Ranger, I'm all for. I've been vocal in the past before saying, well, the styling of the previous Ranger wasn't quite for me, except I do find the previous Ranger Tremor to be quite good looking. And that raises the question, will we get a Tremor for the new 2024 Ford Ranger? Will it be introduced later on in the year, maybe available for 2025? We'll have to wait and see. For now, I think an XLT FX4 package is an incredible bargain. If you want that more luxurious interior, do go with a Lariat. Be prepared to spend a good amount of money more, and that's really subjective whether you feel it's worth the extra money. Now, I am extremely impressed though that on the XLT you can essentially get the infotainment screens of the Lariat on the XLT if you go with the technology package. If you get the higher trim package for a few $1,000s, you're essentially going to get the look of this Lariat without the leather seats. The leather seats are very comfortable. They look great. But if you are going to spend Lariat amounts of money, should you just go all in and go for a Raptor? Now, the Raptor won't be the easiest model to get. Dealers aren't getting as many as they would like. And well, some dealers are asking over MSRP, but if you can get a Ford Ranger Raptor at MSRP, you've got one heck of a truck. This is a totally new truck because the rear suspension isn't leaf spring like it is on all the other Rangers, the XL, the XLT, and the Lariat. You're getting a full independent rear suspension, as you see right there, and it is going to be amazing at taking the bumps. But don't get me wrong, we drove the XLT in the city on some pretty bad roads, and the XLT suspension is great. It's a huge improvement over the previous Ranger, and I'd say it's definitely worth getting the new Ranger, or if you currently have a Ranger, it's worth trading in your Ranger for the new Ranger. Even if it's the XLT, you don't have to go all the way to Raptor to get a comfortable ride, but these Raptors, I've had an F-150 Raptor, and I can tell you there definitely is a difference when you're driving around in a Raptor versus driving around in your XLT or Lariat, you know, F-150. So the same is going to be true for the Ranger here. We've got the Wild Track Haas 3.0 suspension on the Wild Track Bronco, and it's incredible, but this suspension is even better at absorbing those jumps, those dips, getting a little bit of air. So this is truly your Baja driving truck right here. Absolutely love it. Now, no matter what Ranger you get, they all run on regular gas. So 87 octane is going to work for all of these trucks, except we'll have to do a little bit more research on the Ranger Raptor comment. Does the Ranger Raptor require higher, more premium gas? Because the XL, XLT, and Lariat, whether it's the 2.3 liter or the 2.7 liter, run on regular 87 octane gas just fine. Now, the Ranger Raptor is a 3-liter V6 twin turbo with an incredible sound, but do remember, if you get a 2.7 liter and you tune it and you change the exhaust, you're going to get a ton of power and you're going to get some crazy sounds out of that V6 2.7 liter. Just check out some Bronco videos where they've modified the exhaust, but this Ranger Raptor look and styling is unbeatable on the market, in my opinion. Very tempting. I ordered one, but they're too rare. I didn't get one. I guess I didn't order it quick enough, but I think it is, it's definitely a truck to keep long term. Braking, cornering, and handling on all your Rangers is going to be top notch, next to no body roll in the curves. The Ranger Raptor will have a bit more body roll because that suspension is made to absorb bumps more. This truck is going to be more than capable of doing all the work that most people need to get done in the hobbies. It covers you for your camper, your boat, trailers, and whatnot, because 75 pound-feet of towing is fantastic. This 1,711 pounds of payload, you'll have trouble getting that much weight into a 5-foot box, which is probably the only downside I can think of in regards to the Ranger, is the 5-foot box. So many of us would like a 6-foot box on these Rangers, but I guess Ford's got us covered there with offering the F-150, but I think many of us would have liked to have seen it in the Ranger. Now, please let us know in the comments section, which engine would you get? Which trim of Ford Ranger would you get? Because, well, the engine choice between the 4-cylinder and the 6-cylinder, you've got a difference of 2 miles per gallon. Does that matter to you? Do you want the extra power, or are you just looking for the most fuel efficient truck possible? And do keep in mind, speaking of fuel efficiency, Ford almost guaranteed will be coming out with a hybrid or plug-in option soon, and later down the road probably an all-electric Ranger option. So let us know in the comment section, and please like and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to turn the bell notifications on, because when you do subscribe, you do help feed and dress those poodles. Thank you so much for watching to the end. If you made it this far, comment finisher. Thank you so much for the support of our subscribers, and of course to the members of the channel. You help keep this channel going. Thank you so much. And until next time, we wish you all more cars and more power. Take care.